Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the 5,370th meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. I saw many of you last night at the Urban Confluence event at the Tech Museum, or Tech Interactive, and I saw a lot of you there last night who aren't here today, so that's interesting. Okay, we know where your priorities are. You like Borkenhagen more than me. That's okay, but I saw Carl there, he was there. We'd like to, of course, thank the RCAC for greeting everybody in the line today, headed by Deanna Persai, Mark McKenna. Pretty much everyone there is a leader, but we're going to be hearing from Mark a little bit later about some of the stuff they're working on. And I'd like to take this opportunity, now that all the votes are counted and the election's done, to offer congratulations to our own member, Matt Mahan, on his election as mayor of San Jose. As we know, our club is filled with community leaders, and it is really special for us to have the mayor be not just an honorary member, but a member of our club. So we wish him well, and we'll provide all the support that we can as a Rotary Club. Okay, let's move on to our Red Badgers at the traveling mics. If they will introduce themselves. Why don't we start over here with John?
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. My name is John Valenti. I'm a commercial lender at the Heritage Bank. And, oh yeah, Celeste Drake. Celeste Drake was my sponsor. Word Celeste. Shout out.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Rasamny. I'm also a commercial lender with Heritage Bank. And Celeste was also my sponsor. Surprise, surprise.
One day you guys are not going to do something together. It's going to be pretty cool.
You can try, but you can't take us apart.
Safety in numbers. Safety in numbers.
Okay, so if visiting Rotarians and Rotarians with guests, could please stand up to be introduced? We're going to start with Celeste, I think.
Celeste Drake here. My guest today is Deanne Everton, the Executive Director of Rebuilding Together Silicon Valley.
Welcome.
Hello, President Sal.
Hello, Jen.
Hi, Janica Clem, and I am excited to share that I am now the Director of Leadership San Jose. How many leadership alums do we have? And as best year ever, that's right. And as that, I wanted to introduce two of my guests that are in the current leadership class. So it's Chris Arkley with San Jose Downtown Association and Rhonda Nurse with Happy Hollow Foundation.
Welcome to both of you.
Hello. This is just getting embarrassing. And once again, introducing my guest, Jay Alexander, Heather Lerner.
Always magical to have you here, Jay. Good to see you.
Hi, President Sal. Lisa Millette. Hi, nice to see you. I'm introduced. What?
James was blocking you.
I know. I'll just stand behind James. I'm introducing my guest today, our board chair at City Lights Theater Company, Christy Martin.
Welcome, Christy. And now James.
Okay, James Williams with Opera San Jose, and I'd like to introduce Tom Mulder. He's a development director on in our organization, and with us today to hear Connie Martinez speak about the arts.
Great day to come. Great day to come. And do we have any others? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on. And let's bring up Audrey Fox to talk to us about our community grants. Audrey, come on up.
Thank you, President Sal. Okay, well, this is the perfect time of year to share our foundation's Community Grant Awards. These awards were designed to assist nonprofits that serve San Jose residents primarily with funding of up to $10,000 for capital purchases or for small facility improvements. We accept grant applications each year between July 1 and October 1st. And nonprofit organizations are only eligible to receive a community grant every 3 years. The committee's role is to review the applications, conduct the site visits, and then after detailed analysis and discussion, make funding recommendations to the foundation board. We went too. This year, we received 29 grant applications. Funding requests for qualified grants totaled $242,000. We are thrilled to share that we funded 22 organizations with the $150,000 that we had to allocate. Looks like I'm missing a slide, but before we do the big reveal, I would like to thank our wonderfully dedicated committee that is made up of representatives from the foundation board, the club board, and the club at large. If you're here, please stand. So our committee members are Steve Prouty, Sean O'Kane, Shashir Doctor, Sarah Janikin, Terry Chapman, Danny Bizzuto, Chris Duke, Sandra Gill, and Karen Fox. It was an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you. And I do want to give a special thank you to those who are completing their 3rd year, they're completing their 3-year term. And that would be Danny Bizzuto, Karen Fox, and Shashir Doctor. So thank you for your commitment. Okay, time for the big reveal. So here are the 22 organizations that we funded this year. There's too many, 22 is too many to read, so you'll see them in the bulletin too. But one thing that we love and that you can see is that the awardees represent a diverse set of nonprofits serving youth, the arts, animals, the environment, the unhoused, the community, healthcare, and much, much more. It's just a tremendous list, and we're just so happy to be able to support them. And these grants, they're funded through your generosity. Your annual campaign donation is what allows us to make these grants to the nonprofits that are doing such incredible work right here in our own community. Thank you so much to those who've already made their 2022 donation. To those who haven't yet, please do at whatever level is meaningful to you. As Rotarians, we serve our community together. Let's raise our participation rate so we can continue to make grant awards at the level we have been, which is amazing, and ideally increase them so that we can do more to support the charitable organizations in our community and the tremendous work that they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Audrey, and I do want to point out, 47%, we really want to get that higher at whatever level you can do. Participation is so important for us, especially at the district level when we look at, our club is really well known for being a large club and one of the leaders in this area, and that is one of the only places where we lag compared to other clubs is in that participation. Okay, but participation is also about membership, so we're going to bring up a new member. I think you know this guy pretty well, Mike, don't you? The guy you're bringing in? Okay. So I'm going to let you talk about him. Mike Bolton.
Slide here. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
All right, hi, everybody. Well, born February 17th, 1979, this fine-looking 43-year-old man, now an inch taller than his dad, has gone a long way in life. You know, I think every mom and dad can summarize their kids in just one word, you know, the dancer, the talker, the dreamer. For us, Mitch was always the athlete. His youth was made up of scoring goals as a soccer forward, turning double plays as the second baseman, and a championship breaststroker for St. Francis High School. He swam, but his real love was playing water polo, where he relished those tough St. Francis versus Bellarmine games. Now, I don't want to hear any go Bells. I want to hear go Lancers. Growing up, Mitch saw his dad work for a bank with many, many late nights, and along with his siblings, vowed never to become a banker. Well, here he is now, Mitch the banker. He cut his teeth at Wells Fargo, moved to wealth management with Bank of America, and then was recruited by Merrill Lynch. And of course, he wants to manage all your money. He works out of downtown San Jose. He's been married for 12 years to a wonderful wife, Rebecca. Together, they have a 9-year-old son, Noah. And yes, like father, like son, Noah just scored 5 soccer goals in 4 games 2 weeks ago. He and family reside in the Cambrian area of San Jose. So after 3 years of trying to recruit Mitch into our Rotary, I'm proud that it's mission accomplished. And Rotary is getting a fine young man as a member. Welcome, Mitch.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the warm welcome. First off, I would like to thank President Sal, my Red Badge Committee chairs, Kathleen and Mauricio, and each and every one of you for being so welcoming and making joining the Rotary one of the best decisions I've made. Most importantly, obviously, I want to thank my dad and sponsor, Mike Fulton, for finally convincing me to join the Rotary. Like he said, there was probably a couple of years of his persistence and a couple little nudges here and there that finally got me able to join. But the real reason I wanted to join was I was able to personally witness what the Rotary Club of San Jose does, not only for this community, but internationally as well, and I wanted to be a part of that impact. I've always believed that helping others should come first in everything you do, and I've maintained this philosophy throughout my career. From coaching water polo at a local high school to my various positions within the financial world. In my current role as a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, this philosophy is important now more than ever. My team serves as the Chief Financial Officer for families, individuals, and business owners to help them achieve their financial goals and to help provide for a worry-free retirement. A little bit about myself. Obviously, I was born in Michigan, moved to the Bay Area when I was 11, and have made San Jose my home for the last 15 years. Married to my beautiful wife, Rebecca, for a little over 11 years, not quite 12 yet. And I have my son, Noah, who's 9. My free time, like my dad said, is mostly on the sidelines, watching Noah race up and down the quarter of the field. But when not doing that, we enjoy going to the beach in Capitola, bike rides, going to the park, and then traveling whenever possible. So thank you for allowing me to introduce myself today, and I look forward to meeting all of you and learning more about your stories. Thank you.
It's only an inch taller, right?
Yeah, that's you, not me. All right, welcome, Mitch, and you know, any of you should think about bringing in your children to Rotary, right? When they're as successful as Mitch is. So next up, we want to hear about one of our committees, and that, in this case, is the Rotary Climate Action Committee. Mark McKenna, why don't you come up here and give us an update so we can hear what the committee is doing.
So thank you, President Sal. For providing this opportunity to update you on the Climate Action Committee. If you haven't noticed, there are buttons on the table. If you didn't get one from the greeting line, there are also stickers, so you can wear a button, you can put a sticker on your car, on your window, on your computer, to show your commitment to resolving the climate crisis. Last year, so the committee has a number of projects that are ongoing and will continue in the coming year. Last year, we began an initiative to encourage the club to reduce our carbon footprint with the goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2025. We documented the carbon emissions associated with having all of you come here for our weekly lunches and purchase carbon offsets to support the planting of trees and other projects. We will be conducting this survey again at our next meeting in December. So come look for the table out in the lobby and come fill out a form so we can calculate what our carbon footprint is. In the coming year, we're looking forward to working with Rotary staff and our caterers and the facilities people to see what we can do to eliminate the landfill waste associated with our weekly lunches. As a small first step, I would encourage you all to bring a coffee container or a water container to our meetings, and you can get coffee and water or tea, and we don't have to use the paper cups. Every cup makes a difference. We'd also like to work with any committee that's planning an event to support your efforts to reduce the carbon impact of your event. I'm thinking about the gala committee in particular. So please connect with me, or we'll reach out to you to see what we can do as you begin to plan your event to lower its carbon footprint or offset its carbon footprint. In the fall, we began a collaboration with the City of San Jose by organizing a number of what are called Go Green teams that meet once a month to discuss how they can reduce their carbon footprints. One of our teams, the one led by Megan Fluke, has managed to reduce its carbon footprint over the last quarter by 56,000 pounds. And they're currently ranked second among the 22 teams in San Jose. So congratulations to that team. Great job. We'll be continuing and expanding this initiative in the coming year, so look forward to outreach from us about it. Finally, in collaboration with the Los Gatos Rotary Club, we organized a lithium battery recycling drive. The Los Gatos Club has been working with Redwood Materials, a company focused on the looming challenge of recycling all the precious metals that power so many of our devices, in our phones, in our toothbrushes, and our power tools. We will be organizing a second lithium battery recycling drive again in the coming year. In addition to the work we do within the club, the Climate Action Committee has also an important contributor within our district. These efforts are led now by Diana Persai, who's our district coordinator. So thank you, Diana, for your work at the district level. We also contribute to the efforts of the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, SRAC, which seeks to mobilize Rotarians worldwide to address our 7th area of focus, protecting the environment. In September, we were the lead partner with SRAC in the County of Santa Clara on organizing a Green Summit here in Santa Clara County. I invite you to check out SRAC's many activities at www.srac.org and to become a member and show your commitment to addressing the global challenge. It's only $30 a year. Finally, one new initiative, SRAC initiative that I want to highlight now, because it's particularly timely, is SRAC's new flight carbon estimator. Many of you may be planning a trip over the holiday season. Maybe you're planning to visit, take a vacation or visit family or friends. If you're going by surface, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you, as Rod would say, take the train. But if you're flying, that's one of the most carbon intensive modes of transportation, particularly if you're using a short haul flight or a regional flight. And we don't have any alternative fuels at the moment, but you can buy carbon offsets to mitigate the impact of your travel. SRAC's carbon flight estimator will show you how. Just go to www.srac.org/flight-carbonator-estimators and complete the form, pay the fee, and that money will be both tax deductible and go to support climate mitigation efforts. I know you probably can't remember all this, so we'll include the information in the bulletin. It's easy, it will make a difference, and it will put into action your commitment to stopping climate change before it stops us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark, for helping to keep our club green. And now to help keep us a little educated, we're going to bring up Bill Schroe to take a look back. And as Bill is walking up, I'd like to remind you of a little history myself, that yesterday was San Jose's 245th birthday, November 29th, of the founding of the El Pueblo de San Jose de Guadalupe. Bill, welcome.
Sal? Yes, okay. Okay. So today I'd like to talk about innovation and creativity. Just like today, the Valley has had it since the dawn of time. 3 devices behind us have all been created right here in San Jose or locally in the Silicon Valley. First one over there, you can see the little one that looks like a car. It's called the Olson Hunt automobile. It was made at the Olson Hunt Bicycle Factory. They decided to go into the car business. This car was created in 1899. This is the only known survivor of the original 5. And the best thing about it, it still is fully operational. It has a 2.5 horsepower engine. It puts around, but you can see the creativity as people were thinking about new things. It is simply a carriage that has bicycle wheels, a drive shaft right down the bottom, and then a little engine. And they didn't have steering wheels yet. They used basically rudders like on boats. And you see the early cars, and it kind of goes backwards and forwards. The next one in the middle, we see scooters everywhere. Well, the scooter is an idea that goes back in time. This one is called the Neck Motor Coaster. It was invented by a student from Stanford named Carl Neck. This is the only known example left. Again, strangely, he worked in a bicycle store and he wanted to create a better mode of transportation. So he created a little a scooter with a motor on it. And this, as I said, this was the only known example still around today. And the last one is an FMC pocket hand pack filler. Now, it's just a piece of machinery, but it revolutionized the cannery industry. You know, we know that FMC was created basically right here in San Jose. It was the bean spreader company originally, a gentleman who created a spreader to bring fertilizer and anti-insect repellent to the fields. He merged with another gentleman and created the farm machinery company. And then in 1938, they created this device here that made it just more efficient. You didn't have to hand pack all of the cans. It could do about 50 at a time. So you can see that we watch and see the creativity that goes on every day, as with Apple and the computers and everything else that goes on. But we have been creating and planning and thinking of the future since the creation of the Pueblo.
Man, I'd like to putt around in that car, though. I've seen that at History Park. He won't let me drive it. Okay, we got a few announcements to make before we get to our speaker. First, of course, we've got Christmas in the Park, our 6th annual Christmas in the Park event, sponsored by the Fun and Friendship Committee and hosted by our president-elect, Karen Philbrick, in the entertainment lounge of the 88 downtown high-rise. Now, we've held this event since 2015, and so we're happy to be back in person after pausing due to the pandemic for the past 2 years. So it's Wednesday, December 7th, 6 p.m. start. This is family friendly, all ages are welcome. Bring your children, your grandchildren, your own inner child you'll be able to let out for once, as we listen to holiday music, indulge in some savory appetizers, decadent desserts, hot cocoa, wines from around the globe, and spirited beverages for the adults, if you know what I mean. At 7:30, we'll walk as a group down to Christmas in the Park. And of course, if you haven't been out there, it is gorgeous this year. There's more than 500 decorated trees, all of your favorite displays. It looks amazing. And the big tree that you can now walk through if you haven't done that before. They've really done a fantastic job of sprucing up some of the displays this year. So if you would like to go, please email your RSVP to Karen Philbrick, and we will share some holiday cheer together on December 7th. So next up, of course, after that, you may have noticed that a couple of people here, including Steve Prouty and Scott Payne, are wearing bow ties. That's because we've got our holiday luncheon coming up in 2 weeks. As of when we came here, there were still 8 tickets left at $75 each. Those are gone now. Those are gone. But I have heard that we are being allowed to sell another 30 tickets at $100 each, which is actually the cost of the lunch We were doing a little break on the first 200, but Scott's Le Papillon, Scott's restaurant, if you know Scott, Le Papillon's letting us do another 30 at $100 each if you're interested in doing it. Some things that have not necessarily been mentioned as much. We're going to have a martini bar, a Manhattan bar, an old-fashioned bar. There is going to be wine served at the tables. Seriously, Uber should be our sponsor for this event, okay? Plan on taking the afternoon off of work. We are also going to have a lot of entertainment from Symphony San Jose Stage Company, and Lyric Theater. So we love our not ready for primetime singers, but we're actually adding on to it this year. So if you want to get in on this fun, I think we're going to be still signing people up out in the lobby after the meeting. So please make sure to do that. More holiday fun, of course, before I get to that, and please don't forget to bring a toy, an unwrapped toy, book, bicycle, gift cards, anything to support Sacred Heart's community services. Give from the Heart for the Holidays campaign, which we'll be collecting at the luncheon on the 14th. Also, we've got an Italian Christmas with Pasquale Esposito at the Montgomery Theater on December 17th. Remember, you can get a discount on tickets by using the promo code Rotary. You get 30% off, and a portion of the ticket sales are coming back to our club to support the Lee Weimer's Emerging Artists Awards. We really want to have a nice showing of Rotarians there if we can. So December 17th, please try to make that. And the other side, of course, of the holidays is giving to others. And so we are joining with the Order of Malta and the Unhoused Care Committee to have a wrapping party this Saturday at Block Construction between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you need more information, Sarah Janigan's your person. You can contact her. You see her email up there at sarah.janigan@gmail.com. Talking about 1,000 toys are going to be going to kids who want them. And now let's bring up our Charlie McCullum, I think, is going to be introducing our speaker today. Charlie, come on up here. Tell us who we're hearing.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Our guest today is Connie Martinez, the CEO of Silicon Valley Creates. SVC is Silicon Valley's foremost art supporter and innovator, working to build the capacity of the arts ecosystem, showcasing and investing in both organizations and individual artists. It also publishes Content Magazine, which focuses on emerging artists in our area. Before becoming the leader of SVC, Connie held numerous leadership positions in the nonprofit and arts world, including First Act Silicon Valley, the Children's Discovery Museum, Joint Venture Silicon Valley Network, SPUR, and the American Leadership Forum. She was also Deputy City Manager and Planning Director for the City of Mountain View. Would you please welcome someone I consider a true arts visionary, my friend Connie Martinez.
Let me get a little height here so you can see me. Better? Okay. So, well, first of all, thank you, Charlie, and it's so great to be here among old friends, and I'm meeting some new today too, so that's exciting. And of course, when Charlie asks, you say yes. So that's what I did, Charlie. And by the way, that picture was taken a few years ago. So, oh well. So let's see. I'm going to move this. There, that's the title of my little talk today, The Business of Arts and Culture. And about, let's say, last year, we published this document, which there's a few on your table, and you can wrestle yourselves to the ground for who gets these. But this is the research that we published in the Business Journal, as I said, a little over a year ago. And I'm going to share some of those highlights with the hope that you leave today having learned something new, and in some ways maybe have altered your view of our cultural ecosystem. Special shout out to my cultural colleagues that are in the room. I'll get back to you later. So let's see. And the image, I do want to point out that the image here is a local artist, Sam Rodriguez, and this is a mural on the corner of 8th and Empire. If you haven't seen it, take a drive by. I think it's beautiful. So I'm going to start by setting the stage, and some of what I'm about to say will be very obvious to you, but I'm making a point, and that is that we all know this because we live here. We live in this strange place called Silicon Valley. So we know that we are broadly diverse and male-dominated engineering culture, entrepreneurial, and of course, the success of our companies growing to global acclaim in record speed. So in less than a few decades, probably unparalleled in history. So that created extreme wealth, we know that. And the growth within a suburban development pattern actually taxed our physical infrastructure in ways that we're all feeling that today, transportation and housing, driven really by our success. What's less obvious is how all these factors impact our cultural sector. And quite frankly, are in some ways a preview to the cultural sector at the national level. And I'm going to try to connect those dots. My thinking has evolved over the years, over the decades I've been in San Jose and in Silicon Valley. And in the words of Bob Dylan, I was much older then, I was much older then, I'm younger than that now. That really comes from, decades of humility, the humbleness one feels in our cultural sector from fighting the good fight and, addressing the challenges and the opportunities that this special region affords. So, who we are, spend just a minute talking about that. We actually don't look like other regions of our country, okay? I actually think they're going to look more like us in the future, but for now, we do have some uniqueness. So, and I know maybe you can't read that. I can't from here. Silicon Valley's cultural sector is a vast organic network of hundreds of small and mid-sized multidisciplinary arts and cultural organizations and thousands of artists and creative entrepreneurs, volunteers, and individual participants. So we lean small, entrepreneurial, we're broadly diverse, geographically dispersed over our suburban development pattern. And we have something other regions don't have is the growth in our culturally specific arts organizations. So we'll get back to that. But I think it's important when you don't have large institutions, the visibility of the arts is less prominent in a region. And you actually, unless you are engaged, it can be invisible, okay? So hold that thought as you're looking at and hearing some more of the research. So the attributes that I just described in many ways intensified over the last 10 years. We had conducted this research in 2010, so I have some comparisons to show you as well. So we're actually more intense on most of these attributes that you're going to see. So I don't know if this is a surprise or not, but we have 1,063 nonprofit arts organizations in Santa Clara County that are designated as arts. 60% growth over the last 10 years. That's huge. That's huge. It's important to point out that only 8% of the budgets of these organizations are over 500,000. Okay? So that means that we're talking about a lot of volunteer-led organizations, and community-based. So that's part of the essence of who we are. Only 8% have over, I already said that, but the larger arts organizations here that we consider large are mid-size in other markets, okay? And we'll get back to that because that has implications. So I think it's underscored when you hear that the collective budgets of 2 to 3 large cultural institutions in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco are larger than the entire ecosystem of Silicon Valley. Does that surprise you? No, can't, yeah. So now it's really important for you to know that I do not believe that size equates to value and relevance, but it does present challenges in our management and administration of the arts ecosystem, and my colleagues are shaking their heads. Okay, so we have no large, I've already made that point, we have no large cultural institutions, and of course some of this was driven by the loss of our American Musical Theater. If you think back of the losses we've had, the San Jose Rep, the Ballet San Jose, and I think it's important to note that all 3 of those organizations are of the Western artistic tradition, okay? So in Chicago, and like, let's look at the Chicago Symphony, the San Francisco Opera, the New York City Ballet, their budgets are 15 to 20 times the size of our local budgets for equal or equivalent organizations. So we're talking between 65 million to 85 million. I think some even went up to 100 million at one point. And we're comparing those to our local equivalents of between 3 and 5, maybe 6 million, okay? So bottom line, I've already said it, we have no large institutions. What you may be surprised by what I'm about to say is that we never have, and I don't believe we ever will, okay? So given that, let's go on to show where the growth has been. These are startups and new organizations in Silicon Valley. So just like our startup culture in the tech industries, we are also influenced by that startup culture. What's not obvious from this slide is that almost 60% of those startups were in culturally specific arts organizations, okay? So it goes with the breadth of diversity. As our demographics have shifted, we now actually look more like the ethnic makeup of our region, okay? So let's see. So our business models here have a greater reliance on earned income, and donations are reflective of this less donations, okay? So we don't have this robust fundraising climate, but we do have a growing and diverse set of organizations. Again, a lot of these are volunteer-led. So this next slide is not in your handout, by the way. We actually developed after, but I think it's a pretty significant view. And if you can look at the 1975 was at the top, and that's dominant culture, Eurocentric organizations. And then as you go through the years, all the way down to, I'm not sure, I think it was almost 2020. You see the changing demographics in this slide? Okay, that's who we are, okay? And I think it's stunning. It's a stunning depiction, but it's also, I think, relates to what I believe is a fear that's nationally, that we're all experiencing in our culture wars, and that's the fear of the browning of America, because this slide actually reflects that, and that's who we are. Now, not every region embraces diversity as a strength. We do, and that's a good thing. Okay, so I want to make some comparisons, and I'm not sure how well you can see this, about, if you look at the lens, this is about sort of changing your slightly looking at our world differently through the 20th century lens and the 21st century lens. And so, no surprise, our cultural ecosystem, like Silicon Valley, are early adapters of the 21st century. That would make sense. 21st century arts favor entrepreneurial leadership and decentralized creative spaces. So the physical, and also goes with our suburban and development pattern as well, as opposed to hierarchical leadership and prominent structures of the 20th century. Right? So if you think about smaller organizations, breadth of diversity, that we're less about galas and names on buildings, observing art, and more about creative expression, cultural heritage, and the DIY movement of engaging and being part of. So whether you're in a choral group or a taiko drummer on the weekend, our region engages individuals in the art form. And it's not necessarily professional, but it is part of their journey and part of their soul, right? So the old model was capital intensive. And I'd like to point out, when I shared those large legacy organizations' budgets, it is really expensive to be in sort of that world-class category. And again, I don't want to talk about value, but it's that an organization that has a $100 million budget acts differently than an organization that has a $3 to $5 million, okay? And I experienced this firsthand. So as Charlie said, I headed up the Children's Discovery Museum. That's a $6 million, at the time, a $6 million organization. I was on the board of Los Lopeños. That was a $150,000 budget. And I've been on the board of the Monterey Bay Aquarium for the last 14 years, $100 million. I have seen it up close and personal, that the resources one has to work with in those three different examples are so different, but some of the issues are the same, right? So the challenges facing our cultural sector are huge. I'll touch on that in a little bit. The final point I want to make about this slide, and if you have an opportunity to pick this document up and study it, I think it's pretty important as civic leaders to understand this. And that is relevance trumps excellence. Knowing that quality is always relevant, but often relative, okay? So just think about that. This is a region where relevance is king, okay? And it is especially true in a multicultural community. So depending on the lens you use, if you look at the column for the 20th century, we look like we may be in last place in the nation. And if you look at the 21st century lens, we may be leading the nation, okay? So my final thoughts are going to be about the funding climate. And I know we have folks in this room that are fundraisers and have experienced the challenges of our region. So first of all, just so I make sure everyone knows this, because some of you do, you've read the giving code, you've heard others speak, 90% of our philanthropic giving leaves the region. Does everyone know that now? Okay, so that's really important, because the thinking about and here's one of my beliefs, everyone thinks everyone else is getting the money and nobody's getting the money. And my colleagues from the arts are laughing, so thank you for that. But I think it's important to note that there's a reason for that. You know, we're a valley of immigrants connected to someplace else, and the priorities of people who are from someplace else, you know, going back to your home country and starting an orphanage or feeding the poor, the priorities are different when you have such a multicultural community. It's also harder And I think this is really important. It goes back to my earlier statement about that I don't believe we'll ever have really large legacy organizations. And that is that we don't have the social elite that has historically funded the arts. We have the technology elite, and they have different priorities. I remember when I was at the Children's Discovery Museum, I had 4 CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies on my board. That is unheard of in the United States. We were the only one. And those folks in other communities may have been on the legacy organization type boards, right? And that's a stature position. Here it was those 4 CEOs, they had a connection to the cultural, to CDM, Children's Discovery Museum, because their children went there, their grandchildren went there, and then they had this tinkering with, the spirit of CDM was more aligned with who they were. That makes sense. So in other markets, these business leaders, as I said, would never be on the Children's Discovery Museum. So our mid-size, this is an important thing for everyone to understand, especially as you reflect back on some of the challenges and failures of some of the organizations, is that the mid-size groups, remember our large groups are mid-size in other markets, they in my view, are the most challenged because they have the overhead to get them into trouble, but not the capacity to get them out, right? So just be aware that, and I go back to my Monterey Bay Aquarium, Children's Discovery Museum, and the Los Lopeños, is that it's not that everyone needs money, everyone needs more money. And by the way, I've never been in a single regional conversation across the country where that's not the case. We all want more money, okay? But as you can see, when you're small, you don't have as much to lose, and you are more nimble and you can adapt. When you are really large, 25 people get up every day at Monterey Bay Aquarium and are on the fundraising team. Here, I think, we might have 1.2 FTE dedicated to fundraising, and everybody fundraises in some ways. So it's a totally different way of operating. And it's why I've used this phrase of from scrappy good to scrappy great, because even on the other side of, progress, I believe our cultural sector operates in a scrappy way. Doesn't mean our products or the outcomes of what we do is sloppy. It's just that we don't have the resources. So we are more alike the entrepreneurial startup culture of Silicon Valley. I don't see that changing. And I also want to point out that the Western traditions that have failed here, I don't believe it's because of quality. It's not. It's the math simply didn't work. Under the old models of how one delivered a legacy organization's product and service without the budget, it did not work. And so we've all had to adjust. And those who have adjusted have survived, and those who didn't have not. And so we aren't like everybody else, nor do we necessarily need to be or want to be. That's who we are. So let's see. My view of government funding has changed over time. And the reason it has, and it's really tied to this multicultural community of where, if you look at the benefits of the arts, and I put social cohesion and attachment to place at the top of the list for here, for this valley, is that you do not have, you cannot survive here without, or you cannot increase investment if people don't care, if people aren't attached to place. And I believe the arts is one of the key strategies for attaching people to place. Think about your own experiences of what makes you attached to other people, to each other. A lot of it happens through the cultural gatherings that we have. And government funding benefits from that social cohesion, a lot of the benefits of the arts. But because you have such a breadth of diversity, as I may have already said, you don't have everyone gathering around one culture. So you see it's dispersed. The energy is dispersed, the investments are dispersed. I think government has a bigger hand in being part of the solution than I thought, 20, 30 years ago. We also help to create a sense of place, and do not underestimate the value of just bringing joy and learning to our lives. In fact, that's probably at the top of my personal list. And by the way, creative people want to live in a creative place. So it is in our best interest for the arts to thrive in our community as it relates to our creative workforce. And then driving academic performance, we all know that the studies and the empirical evidence is there. Children who are exposed to the arts do better in school. They do. And then lastly, we don't have the case for, I would call the business case, the economic business case, because of Silicon Valley's might and global dominance in technology and innovation. But for small business and little downtown, the villages of our 15 little cities in Silicon Valley, it matters a lot. And so to me, there's an economic incentive around small business. So our organization, we have many strategies in motion to address some of these challenges. We've highlighted them in the document. I'm not going to go there, but I do want to say something about what you can do, okay? And I believe as community leaders, civic leaders, business leaders, cultural leaders, that it's in some ways your obligation to our community to understand the ecosystem we have, its value, its benefits, and embrace and leverage our assets, the ones that we have, not the ones you wish we had, okay? So that's where I would start. And then, as I mentioned earlier, engaging in something that's relevant to you, because that's where you intersect with our cultural sector. And we all have different, we have different interests, but engagement is key. To that. Whether you're a board, you sit on a board, you are an artist yourself, or in the civic realm, you advocate for the public policies that support it. And then on a personal level, you invest your time, talent, and treasure in what you find relevant and inspiring and important to you. And then you enroll other people to join you. You enroll others to join you. It's a network of networks. And it's not this hierarchy where, I grew up in Minnesota, highest per capita investment in the arts in any place in the country, believe it or not, per capita, okay? You had 5 or 6 CEOs in Minneapolis who kind of called the shots. They said, this is what we're gonna do. Doesn't happen here. You have to leverage the networks of relationships you have and engage them and enroll them in our journey. So my closing comments are about my colleagues in the cultural sector. I have tremendous respect for all of you. I know how hard it is. I am one, I've been one, and I still am. And I believe that given the challenges of Silicon Valley and our changing demographics and the impact, the disruptors of the social disruptors and the digital culture, those and demographics have made our challenges much greater, but they also have made our potential value and connection to the future even more valuable and important. So you have to navigate this set of complexities that our colleagues around the world and clearly in the United States have not fully met. So in some ways, we're meeting some of those challenges here first. And we have this vibrant, multicultural and culturally specific community out there. And so our work is important, but I believe we have to be stronger and better leaders, I'm looking at you guys, than our colleagues, not only across the nation in the art sector, but also in the private sector, because we have to do so much more with less. And to the rest of you, I turn and say, we need your help, and we need you to be part of the journey we're on, to build the resilience of our incredible, rich, vibrant cultural ecosystem. And so I'm asking you to join us. Thank you.
I think we've got a couple of minutes for questions.
Okay.
So let's start off here. I think we're going to start with Larry, and then Ed.
Thank you, Connie, for all you've done for the arts around here. We're lucky to have mid-size. We have a wonderful symphony, a wonderful ballet, art museum, things like that. But I miss the ballet, and I miss the rep. That's the first part of my question. What are our chances of bringing back, making the round of the major arts that we need in this community? And number two, arts and education. What's going on there?
I miss them too, Larry, so that's my first response. And I think that when I say we'll never have large institutions, I want to make sure people understood it. We're not going to have the 100 million. But we can have versions of what we have now. I mean, look at our opera. You know, it is. What's your budget up to? 6 million, 5 million? Okay, close to 6 million. I will, basically the value of, we lost you. Am I supposed to leave the stage? Okay. Okay. So the point being is that, yes, it's possible, but it's not going to look like the traditional model. And traditional models have failed here, okay? So I know there's somebody from the symphony here, I believe. Okay, the symphony. So, we have a guest conductor model. And again, I will match the quality to some of the world-class institutions with $65 million budgets, right? The value is very strong here. But I think we have to adjust our thinking in terms of how do we use the resources, and big, meaning big budgets, aren't necessarily, not only are they not achievable, but they're not the answer. So you do, I'm not saying we don't need more money, I'm saying is that you marry the reality of our funding climate with the audience expectations and your strategies and business model to deliver. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The best venue, I think, in the California theater that you can have for that kind of
Yes.
work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great work there. There's no better venue.
Yeah.
That I've been in, and I've lived in New York.
Ed.
Firstly, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation.
Well, thank you.
And I can't wait to consume the document you've shared with us tonight. I'm glad you talked a little bit about funding, because if there was one graph in there I'd really like to see, it would have been comparing the fundage sources in other parts of the country versus here.
Okay.
The second thing I'm very curious about, and I hope you can address, is what's the difference in consumption here in Silicon Valley versus other parts of the country? Is the interest that much less here?
So let me start with the funding. So interestingly, and you're not going to believe this. Now, keep in mind when I answer this question, this is not about our capacity to give. It's about the percentage of that our corporations fund the arts, individuals fund the arts, foundations fund the arts. The area that we're weakest compared to the rest of the nation are at the individual level. Corporations have the capacity to give a whole lot more, but if you look at our entire ecosystem, they're actually giving more, believe it or not, than some of our colleagues across the nation, but it's nothing to do with their capacity. Does that make sense, what I just said? And then foundations have, over time, they have drifted into the global, fundraising like corporations and everybody else is, global connections. So I think that we are, once again, our community foundation lowest number of local grants, or the value of local grants overall, than our colleagues in most of the major cities across the nation. And that has to do with donor advised funds, where the donor directs and that goes to theirs, as opposed to the community directs with some strategy of support for the arts or for whatever. As far as consumption, I do think we consume the arts differently. And partly it's tied to everything I said about the demographic shifts, the digital culture, and I don't have a specific answer for you, but we do see that we lean in that creative expression, the DIY, that marketplace, more than your traditional arts.
So I think we've run out of time for questions, but Andrea, were you going to make an introduction or ask a question?
Can I make a brief remark to Connie and an introduction?
Yes.
Okay, just very quickly. Connie, as an environmentalist, I found your talk today just fascinating, of just connecting the dots and how much goes back to the sprawl kind of mindset of this valley, and how that kind of, spreading that out, the growth, the investment, and what leaves this county. We have invested so much less in what really makes this valley as powerful and beautiful as it is, which is this multicultural community, the environment around us. And so I just want to say, I'd love to talk with you more about how we can link environment and the arts and the power behind that, and try and keep more money here to invest in that and grow that. So thank you very much. I thought that slide you showed of 20th century versus 21st century is so powerful and has so much relevance beyond the arts. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you separately from here about that, about your topic, because I'm very interested in it too. And just the reaction is the suburban development pattern impacted all of what I just said a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and it's, again, attachment to place. If you're in the North County, you're not attached to San Jose. A lot of the wealth is in the North County, and you're not attached to San Jose. Audiences, to get on the freeway, and by the way, I forgot to mention, believe it or not, COVID. For gosh sakes, the arts were the first to close and the last to reopen, so we certainly haven't recovered fully. And on top of all of those other challenges, we've had COVID. So just a little bit of editorializing based on your comments.
And President Sal,
Hold on, one quick second, because I'm going to say, Connie, thank you, because I know what we're going to do right now is we have a couple of Rotarians who didn't get introduced. I just want to get them quickly introduced before we finish up, but I want to thank you, Connie, and have everyone thank Connie for her amazing remarks. On your behalf, we've made a donation to the San Jose Jazz Aid Fund. So fabulous. There you go. Thank you. So, okay, Andrea.
I erred earlier on in not introducing my new friend, Er Sarahul Islam. He heralds from the Toronto Danforth Club, District 7070, and he's an engineer. Welcome.
And John, we've got one more on this side, and we're going to do a flag exchange after the meeting, but if you could just quickly stand and introduce yourself. Oh wait, that wasn't who I meant.
Hi, my name is Chai Wu, and the first time come here. The reason is I was invited to Menlo Park Rotary Club, and I gave a talk there, but I find out, oh, this is a very, I think the talks are very meaningful. So I look at and I compare, I thought, I'm coming here as a guest today. I'm still trying to make a decision. I'm an environmental chemist, so I'm interested in his, maybe able to get involved. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Arvind Khadbadi, immediate past president of Rotary Club of Venugram, Belgaum. I thank Rotary Club of San Jose for giving me an opportunity to go drop by and exchange the flag. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to have you here. Okay, next week, big week. We've got our speakers, Gisela Bushi from Loaves and Fishes, talk about hunger and the holidays, but it is also our annual meeting. So you'll get to find out who our nominee is for the president after Karen Philbrick, our president-elect, as well as our board nominees and our foundation nominees. It's also Ring the Bell, and we're gonna have beer. So I hope to see you all next Wednesday. And sorry about the elevators, the city's working on it. If you know the mayor-elect, give him a call.